So I'm absolutely delighted to be catching up with this afternoon here at the Dot Media Centre online with both Yasmin Andine and also Faith Crummy, both of whom are part of the Leicester's Environmental Youth Board. Yasmin, you're the chair. Faith, you're the vice chair, so that's good. So I know which order to put you in there when I ask you questions, so that'll be quite cool. And really what we're after finding out from you guys, obviously, it's great to watch on the news about young people, you know, the climate strikes on Friday, the school strikes. Obviously, Greta Thunberg owns quite a lot of that space, and looking at other activists that are around the world. So it's great to meet some young people that are from our city as well, who are advocates for the environment. And first thing I really want to ask you is, Faith, I'll come to you first, Yasmin, actually. Can you tell us a little bit about what the youth board's about and how do people join?
So the Youth Environmental Board was just created as a sort of platform for young people to have a voice and have a say in climate policy of the City Council. So a lot of what we do is we scrutinise the City Council, for example, although we do work on other projects not involving them as well. And you can join by following us on Instagram or Twitter. That's just Leicester Youth Environmental Board, and DMing us there, or you can email me at jasmineandine@gmail.com.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So that we put all of these in the description of the film as well, so people can definitely find. I think that'll be really good as well, just so we kind of make sure everyone gets that correct. So, Faith, from your point of view, as the vice chair, you know, why should a young person join? What is it about the board that you feel that, you know, you're giving your time to?
Well, I kind of just think it's an opportunity for people to actually get a say, because even though there are ways of doing it by yourself, it's a lot easier when there's a group of you. You know, you can work together, and it's a bit easier to access, I would say.
Okay.
I just
And do you think it's about supporting each other as well, sharing ideas, things that have worked and not worked?
Yeah, just sharing any knowledge that we have to try and do our best.
It was interesting, earlier in the year, we ran a newsroom for World Oceans Day, myself and Gerhard Hash, that we interviewed this morning. And he discovered a young lady, I think she's a similar age to yourselves, Sarah, over in San Francisco. And she'd pretty much radicalized herself, probably from her parents' point of view, quite an extremist, through sort of indigenous people, and then sort of, you know, the Native Americans, the land issues, the pipeline and stuff. And so she kind of came at the environment that way. Other people will come at it through maybe involvement at school, you know, through the eco team. I know certainly both my boys, you know, green sweatshirts, part of the eco team. I would think they were probably doing recycling or learning about the environment that way. Whereas now Leicester's school sustainability program is very much around creating schools, looking at them as like tiny communities. So it's the students, plus it's the teachers, trustees, the parents, that more community thing. Did you think that really helps when you can include more people in the conversation? Jasmine, maybe you can answer that one for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the more people we have involved in conversations like this, the better. I think it's also really brilliant to be going into schools and talking with younger people and students specifically, especially because the climate movement has been so youth-led, and because the climate crisis is going to affect our generation much more than the older generations. So I think it's really important to mobilize the younger generation as much as possible. So that's brilliant.
And Yasmin, as someone who's 17, I think you said you were, do you feel that you get treated, that you have the necessary knowledge or facts in order to be able to hold your own with people that call themselves adults and are quite knowledgeable?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think there's a lot that you can learn just through the internet and a couple of Google searches that I think a lot of adults haven't necessarily done, because the climate crisis hasn't been talked that extensively about in the media for that long. So adults don't necessarily know any more than younger people do. And then when you get involved in climate activism in different forms, you learn in the process quite a lot. And yeah, I think through activism, I've definitely become much more comfortable with talking about issues like this with people who are much older than me, and I definitely feel like I'm respected too in those conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have a philosophy here where it's about being an issue expert. So you can be an expert through qualification, or you can be an expert through experience or knowledge, and that is irrespective of age. So actually, you found a good space. So I'm looking forward to, after lockdown, you guys can come and visit, and hopefully we can help you go on that journey a bit more and take you forward into the next ocean, the World Oceans Day. Faith, from your point of view, the role that social media plays, not only in raising awareness and finding, connections, but connections with young people in other countries. Have you kind of looked at it from that point of view?
Well, I do think that's really important. We are quite new on social media ourselves, but I know there's, like, for instance, the climate strikes. It started in one country and it spread all over the world. So connections made in different countries, I think that's definitely a good way to go.
Yeah.
On social media, yeah.
Definitely. I mean, I remember watching something, it was a couple of weeks ago, I was talking to Gerhardt about it this morning on the Newsroom, and with some of the other people that we've done interviews with, where I saw, I think it was a news program about 5 or 6 young people that lived around the Arctic Circle in all these different countries, and how they were all affected by the change in sea level. And I think they're the connections that we need to build. It's not necessarily where you live or who you belong to. It's more about the impact on you where you are in your environment, isn't it? I mean, Jasmine, one final thing from you. What's the one thing that you think a young person can do that's going to make them feel that they're able to make a difference? Because at the moment, I think COVID as well, a lot of people are feeling quite anxious about the pandemic, and then there's this kind of climate emergency. People are using quite sort of words that are about kind of urgency and stuff like that. What would your advice be to a younger person?
I'm not sure I can give you one specific thing. There's quite a few, and it depends on people's personalities and the kind of, what they'd feel comfortable doing. You could join our youth board. We're having online meetings, and we're able to have a massive influence still on the council, even in these conditions. There's other environmental groups in the city. There's Climate Strike Leicester. They're a pretty good group to get involved with. And there's also adult groups like Climate Action Leicester that if you're comfortable working with older people, then you could definitely follow them as well.
Yeah, that's great. So it's that kind of collaboration between groups and joining whichever one you feel comfortable with, but you're all kind of trying to move the conversation down the road rather than trying to own it, maybe, which a lot of groups come unstuck by trying to be the voice as opposed to a voice. Okay. And Faith, from you, advice to a young person?
Well, I would just say get involved in any way that you can. I mean, at the moment, it probably will seem small because, well, there's not that much, but there are meetings. We've managed to write our report, even though we're on Teams, and yeah, we're just doing what we can, and I think that's important. Anything that you can make in your life, any changes, every little bit will help. So just,
Great.
yeah.
Well, that's brilliant. Well, listen, Jasmine, Faith, thank you so much for taking the time. Only we will know the technical difficulties that we had to get to this point. So I'm fantastic that this conversation's gone ahead. Please look at the Dot Media Centre as a critical friend to your group, and we'd love to kind of get you guys to come down and support you in whichever way we can, and support you, certainly myself and Tina. And thank you for supporting the Climate Action Fortnight Newsroom, and we look forward to catching up with you in the future.
Yeah, thank you.
Great, thanks very much.